Hi, it's me, Hela. And as you can see, I'm in quite a different environment than usual in my bedroom. I'm in the living room, or well, the where we eat. Usually eat dinner and stuff. And there's there's the kitchen. Um, and this is the living room, and you can see the TV and stuff. Just to show you a little bit of the rest of my house, because you've basically just seen my bedroom except for the basement when I did the Eurovision video. Um, but anyway, so I didn't really plan on making a video right now. So I haven't really prepared what I'm gonna say. It just so happens that I'm home alone right now. And I thought, what a great time to make a video when I'm home alone. And not that, I'm not always home alone when I do videos, but I always make sure that if there is someone home, that they are not, that close to me, that they can hear me, because I just feel very embarrassed and uncomfortable. um, but anyway, and now since, nobody else is home, I can just be here downstairs in the living room and just not worrying about anyone hearing me except for my cats, who couldn't care less. So, so, but instead of just me, rambling here about nothing, I actually wanted to talk a little about, because earlier I watched a movie called It's Kind of a Funny Story. And it stars this actor I've never actually seen before, and I can't actually remember his name. Um, and but he plays like this teenage boy. He's 16 years old, and he is suicidal. I know he is depressed. He has depression, and he's suicidal, and he's gonna kill himself. But he just goes to the hospital, like the mental ward, or like mental hospital or whatever. Um, and he just um comes himself on his own, like no one forces him. His parents don't even know that he's coming there. He just goes on his own, and he says that he is afraid of, he wants to be committed because he's afraid of what he might do to himself. Um, and so he goes in there, and he's for 5 days, because they are for 5 days minimum, and it's actually teens and adults are together, because I don't remember why, there was some renovations or whatever in the teen whatever, so they're all together. So he's with people, from all ages. It's people from all ages, and people who are dealing with all kinds of things. Um and he, meets this guy who is played by Zach Galifianakis, and he, you don't really find out exactly why he's there until like almost the end of the movie. And I don't want to spoil anything, so I don't really want to say, but he's like, he appears to be like this funny guy, and he's always cracking jokes and stuff. But then he has like this daughter, and his wife, or ex-wife or whatever, actually doesn't want him to see her and forbids him, to see her. And there's this scene where she just basically tells him that he's better off dead, and uh, whatever. So, and then, the boy, he meets all kinds of people, like in the hospital, and he meets this girl called Noelle, who is played by Emma Roberts, and she actually cuts herself. And like the first thing he notices is that she has actually cuts or scars on her face here. And I actually, because the movie is based off a book, um, and it's very even more detailed in the book, like because she cuts herself in the face with scissors. And but also, like, in the movie you see, she has scars on her wrist, and so that's basically why she's in there, because they're afraid that she might cut herself again. That's even what she says in the movie. And here I said I wasn't gonna spoil anything. I'm like saying everything, but I'm not like saying something that's like people don't know. Like, this is like already in the trailer. So anyway, but and all these, kind of things happen, and um I don't know. And afterwards, like, I thought it was a really good movie. um I haven't been in like this inpatient hospital like thing myself. I haven't been like where I have been like in a psychiatric hospital for a few days or a few weeks or whatever. I've my treatment has been basically, I'm on medication, and I've been seeing therapists and psychiatrists, every once in a while. So that's kind of the treatment that I have had. So I don't know exactly what it's like from own experience, but it seemed like, and like all those, most of the movies that you see that like happen in like these kind of psychiatric hospitals and stuff, you see like a very negative picture, and the way that these patients are treated, they're treated like they're all just insane and crazy and sociopaths and basically, but in this movie you could like really see, because most of these people were like, yeah, they were having problems, some were, they were, dealing with a mental illness, but they were still like normal people. And they were, nice people, they were kind people, they were polite, and most of them were, you could actually talk to like a normal human being. Um, and I feel like many people, like when they imagine like someone in a mental hospital, they just imagine some um, schizophrenic or someone who's just like crazy out of their mind, someone you can't even talk to, like have a normal conversation like with a person, and someone who you just don't really see as a person of society or something. Um, but like I thought it was like a very good portrayal, also that um that things like depression and stuff, like it can happen to anyone, and it doesn't matter, what you look like or where you're from or what you have, you know, had in your life, because and it's not, always what it seems on the outside. And because I feel like so many people focus so much on the physical appearance, like if you look a certain way, that must mean that you are depressed. Um, if you act a certain way, that must mean you're depressed. Someone who is smiling all the time, and someone who always looks very nice and clean and like, and just acts really happy all the time and has lots of friends and a loving family and a home, and like appears to have this perfect life. Like there's no way that that person can be depressed, because what do they have to be depressed about? Like, and that's also like, because after I watched the movie, I went to um like the board on imdb.com or something, and the board where people can discuss like the movie and stuff, and I saw like so many comments about people who were saying that him, the boy, his name was Greg, uh, that he, didn't really have depression, because he, his problems were not like that severe. So he didn't like really have, depression as we, think of like real depression or whatever. Um, because they said like um, because he has like a good life. He has a family, okay, not a perfect family, but they love him and they support him, and he has friends, and he has like, these this girl that really likes him, and he's doing really well in school, and he's just like, he has this great life. So what does he have to be depressed about? What does he have to complain about? And then like people mention like, oh my God, there are like people in Africa who are suffering, who are starving to death, who are blah blah blah, people who are, you know, going through whatever. Um, and I just, you know, who are you to tell someone that their problems are not big enough or not important enough? Like what, may seem not a big deal to you is a big deal to someone else. And, it doesn't matter. Of course there are people all over the world who are suffering. And, I can consider myself lucky because, one, I have a family, and it may be a dysfunctional family, but they love me and I love them. And I have friends. Uh, I have food. I have water. I have clothes. I have a roof over my head. I have electricity. I have electricity so I can use this computer, so I can use the TV, so I can keep myself warm. I have light. I have so many things to be grateful for, and I know that. But what people also have to understand, that when you have a disease, a mental illness like depression, that's something that you can control, and it doesn't matter um how much, money you have, how much, people you have around you who love you. Of course, it really helps if you have people around you who love you and support you through whatever you're going through. But that's not going to change the fact that you are sick and you need help. Like depression is, like she says in the movie, depression is a medical illness. And she also like said, if you were a diabetic, would you still say that you didn't need help? And it's just the exact same thing. It's not any less severe just because you can't physically see it on the person how sick they are. And it doesn't matter from, where you come from or whatever is going on in your life, even if it's not like something big or something tragic that happened to you, like, and I feel like that all the time, and that's, also why, this movie really, um I could really relate to it, because even though my story is, different from like his, um I still like, some of the, lines and some of the things that they said, like when he said like that sometimes he wished that he could, had a good excuse for being depressed, like if he was sexually assaulted or abused or something like tragic happened to him. And I felt that way too, because I feel like, why am I supposed so depressed? Okay, yeah, so my upbringing hasn't exactly been the most ideal thing. My dad is an alcoholic. My parents have been fighting since I can remember. Um, And I've always felt like such a huge hypocrite because we're supposed to be a Christian family, like we're supposed to be Christians and, praising God, and, we went to church every Sunday when maybe the night before, my mom and dad were at it, calling each other names and um, just emotionally abusing each other, and my dad, sometimes physically abusing my mom, and and then the next day we were just supposed to go to church and act like nothing ever happened. Like I felt like such a hypocrite, and that's why I also kind of stopped going to church for a while, because I just, my relationship with God has never changed, but I just, yeah, just felt like a hypocrite. And like, and of course, like, there are many things in my life that, my life is imperfect, but, I can still be grateful for the things that I have, but it still doesn't change the fact that I am mentally ill. I have an illness, a disease, and that's depression. And it's not just me being sad every once in a while. Like everyone, gets depressed sometimes. Everyone gets sad sometimes. Okay, that's just life. Not everyone is happy, you know, 100% of their lives. But there's a difference in um, sadness, and feeling depressed maybe sometimes when something happens, something bad, and actually having this illness called depression where you are just constantly, and it's not just sadness, it's just like, it's a very hard thing to explain. But also, like he said in the movie, um, it's just like, because I've struggled with anxiety too, and there are just so many times where I feel like I'm about to explode, and also there's just so much pain inside of me, and I've kept it all so much inside of me instead of just opening up and talking to people. Um, and that has resulted in me, doing unhealthy things like harming myself and harming my body, um, and that's just, and that is because of the depression and the anxiety, and it's something that I just can't control. It's something that you just can't control because it's just a medical illness. It's a disease just like any other, just like diabetes, just like cancer, just like whatever. It's something that people just can't control. Um, and it's just this thing where just your brain, tells you that you just can't handle it and you can't do it, and there's nothing you can do to change it. Like there are ways that you can do, like treatments and all kinds of stuff, so you can live quite a healthy life, but it's still always going to be there. And like you said, just because he went in there for 5 days doesn't mean that he's cured, that he's better now. And it doesn't work like that, because this is something that, just like, there is still no cure for cancer. So even though, patients can go into remission, um, the cancer is still always there and it can always come back, just like people struggling with addictions, they can always relapse and it can always come back. People struggling with depression or anxiety, it's always, there. And you always, you have to fight every single day, because you can't stop fighting, because it's just a part of your life. Um, it's just something that you really can't control. And that's just something that really bothered me. People saying that, and like, and it's actually, I mean, of course, I haven't read the book, and the movie is, even though it's based off the book, it's not like exactly the same. But I, like, someone said that the book was actually written based on on some facts, or someone, I don't know if it was the author himself or someone he knew or something, who was actually struggling with depression and suicidal thoughts, and so it was kind of based off of his experience or whatever. And so, like, no, I think that it's not up to you to say, he's not really depressed because he really has nothing to be depressed about. Like, you don't know what it's like, for someone else. Like, and something that may not seem that big of a deal to you is a big of a deal to someone else. And just because I haven't experienced like some traumatizing childhood event, or like been like abused or raped, or had like a close family member die or something, doesn't mean that I'm not just as sick as anyone else. It's an illness, and it's something that I just can't control. And I don't think people should feel bad or be ashamed of how they're feeling. Because, and I've seen this like quote a lot, because you can't, I don't remember exactly how it is, like, because it's something like, you can't like always think about like people who are, you can't always think about like, what have I got to be depressed about, because there are people in the world who are going through more shit than I am, and who are even more depressed than I am. That's like thinking like there are people who are more happy than I am, like who are happier than I am, and who are like, at their happiest and whatever. It's like saying that you can't be. I don't remember exactly how the quote was, but like it probably doesn't make any sense when I'm saying it because I can't remember it. But it was something like that. Like, you can't always think about, of course, there are people all over the world who are struggling, and there are people, who don't even have roof over their heads, people who don't even have water, or proper clothes or shoes to walk on, um and that's horrible. I really think that's horrible, but that doesn't mean that I have to be ashamed or embarrassed or feel bad about the fact that I am depressed, I am sick, and I have had suicidal thoughts myself, and I tried committing suicide once. And, I have felt so just, I've just felt really bad a lot of the time. And I have felt so worthless, and like I just didn't really mean anything, and that I just was better off dead. And I have felt like this was just too much for me. Um, and it's just like something that I can't even control, like these thoughts that I can't even control. And it's like so frustrating because you do, and those thoughts do come to your head, like, okay, but what am I even complaining about? Like, I have a really good life compared to a lot of other people. Just the fact that I am sitting here, in this house with the roof over my head, I have clothes, I have food, I have water, I have everything, but it's just not that simple. It's not that simple, and I may not look like I am depressed, but I am. And you never know who is struggling, and you never know who is dealing with, a mental illness, because it really can happen to everyone. It doesn't matter what you look like, where you're from, you know, like how good you are at school or your job or whatever. If you have like a nice girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, if how you have good friends, a good family, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. If you have like all the money in the world, it doesn't matter. It's not going to change the fact that you're sick. You have a medical disease and that you need help for. And it's just very serious, and I think that people should take it seriously. And it just really kind of pissed me off to see those comments. And I just kind of wanted to make that point. This video wasn't supposed to be this long, and I'm really sorry, but when I start talking, I just can't seem to stop. But I am going to go now. Thank you if you listened to this whole thing, and I'll see you later. So bye, and stay strong.